Hello, welcome to IFA's GPC, and welcome to Hyundai's press conference. I'd like to thank everyone for being here. I know in these strange times it is kind of a privilege to be sitting in an audience to witness anything. So unfortunately, because of the situation that we find ourselves in today, Michael Cole couldn't take the stage, but I did sit down with him last week to produce, I think, a very informative press conference. So thank you very much for being here, and enjoy. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to IFA's Global Press Conference. My name is Nicole Scott. I'm a technology journalist and a future of mobility enthusiast. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Michael Cole, the president and CEO of Hyundai Europe. After spending some time with him last week, it's easy to see that his 35 years of experience have prepared him for the unique situation that we find ourselves in today. What I found refreshing was that his vision didn't only come from his experience, but his need to create something more sustainable for his children. I'd like to dive right in and address the tremendous amount of change that we see in the automotive industry over the last few years. Looking back over your career, Michael, in its many roles, I'm sure you can see that the pace of change is unheard of. How do you see Hyundai evolving during these challenging times?
Okay, well, first of all, again, you've reminded me, of course, that I'm more than 35 years in the industry. Thank you. Of course, the opportunity that's given me has been tremendous because I've had the chance to work in all sectors of the business, whether it be retail, with the dealer world, moving into OEM, working in all the areas of sales, marketing, product, pretty much across Europe and the US, and in my latest position also coming in to look after the manufacturing of our two facilities here for Hyundai in Europe. So I think a lot of experience that has given me a chance to understand how we react to change. And obviously I've seen change in more than 35 years. But I think the reality is the pace of change now is faster probably in the next 5 or 10 years than we've ever seen, and certainly more than the previous 100 years. But the good news is that I think with my experience, and I know with Hyundai's can-do attitude, we're really well prepared to tackle all of these new challenges head on. And I think I would say, really our philosophy as a company is to look at challenges not so much as a disruption to our existing business, but more as a catalyst to accelerate the new business opportunities. So even when you're in times, the difficult times like we are now with COVID, we were able to react in a very nimble way to the situation because of the work we'd already started to innovate in the organization. So in areas like digitalization with online sales. So that's really, I think, what's very much part of our DNA. It's in Hyundai's genes, and we see these as chances to further progress, I guess, in terms of what I would say the customer-centric mobility that leads the industry into a new future.
Tell me about your vision for Hyundai Europe. There's been some hard times, and everyone has had to pivot. So the roadmap that we had just a few months ago won't be the same one that we have today.
Yeah, no, it's true. I would say really I see the great opportunity for Hyundai to move from being a car manufacturer to more of a smart mobility solution company. And that really requires us to think about two sides to that equation. You've obviously got the mobility device, but also the mobility services. Of course, I think we're pretty well positioned in terms of the device, because that's really the car. We've got a lot of experience in delivering high quality, very reliable, attractive product. But the challenge for us is more to move into that area of services, which is more around the technology and the infrastructure, and maybe even what you might call the usage model. So how do consumers want their mobility? How do they want to use vehicles? And that really creates opportunities for us to look at new areas like subscription services or car sharing. And to be honest, that's quite a challenge. Again, we talk about the 35 years I've been in the industry, and I think about when I got my first car, and it was very much just a basic transport, a way of getting from A to B. Today, really, we're talking about mobility solutions that not only move people from one space to another, but that enhance their lives and free up their valuable time. We want to do that, obviously, through connectivity and automation. But I also want Hyundai to be recognised as a major contributor to the economic and social well-being of Europe, and a strong commitment to eco-sustainability. And that's why we're making so many investments in future mobility. You know, we're committing more than 40 billion euros in the next 5 years to future mobility, and 6.7 billion euros to the development of fuel cell technology by 2030. So, you know, you can see that as part of that drive to become a mobility solution provider and an innovative company and an eco-conscious company, electrification really is a key strategy. Today we already have the most diverse electrified powertrain lineup in the market, but we're committed by 2025 to taking a 10% global share of the market through the Hyundai Motor Group. What does that mean for Hyundai? Well, we're looking at 670,000 zero-emission vehicles annually by 2025, and that will make us one of the top 3 EV manufacturers globally.
That all sounds pretty ambitious, actually.
It's a nice goal. But, you know, we've already got there. We're well on the road. In the first half of this year, almost 25% of our sales in Europe were electrified vehicles, whether that be hybrid, plug-in, full battery or fuel cell electric vehicle. And we have our plant in the Czech Republic is already building electrified vehicles, whether it be full battery electric or mild hybrid. But the plans for the future are even more exciting. You know, we plan as a group by 2025 to have 44 electrified vehicles in our global range, and 23 of those will be battery electric models. In addition to that, we have a clear commitment to fuel cell. We want to be a leader in fuel cell technology. So we're expediting our development to support a hydrogen society. And our plan by 2030 is to produce 700,000 fuel stack systems. Now, around 500,000 of those will go into passenger vehicle production, but the rest will be going to other sectors like commercial vehicles, home appliances, the maritime sector, or even urban air mobility.
I always love to hear people say urban air mobility, like it's no big deal. Flying cars are just around the corner.
You're right. It wasn't that many years ago where I would say to people, please don't talk about flying cars. The reality is that is part of our future.
So now you've told us about Hyundai's plans for upscaling and expanding current technologies. But what is Hyundai doing to develop new technologies? How exactly are you going to drive innovation?
Yeah, sure. Well, I think this is part of this strategy to say how we have to move beyond just building cars. And we see that there is a strong need to innovate in all aspects of mobility. So not just passenger cars, of course, but high-performance vehicles, motorsport. But even then moving out to areas like commercial transport and shipping and the urban air mobility. So, you know, we're making strategic investments in smaller, fast-moving companies that will help Hyundai become more of a tech company rather than just a car company. You know, we are working with companies and with partners in other areas on EV battery technology, charging infrastructure, as well as producing green hydrogen. And I say that's very much about how we're transforming away from being a car manufacturer to a smart mobility solution provider. And probably the best example we can give of that is Cradle. I don't know how much you know about our Hyundai Innovation Accelerator group, but they have 5 offices around the world. We're in Seoul, Beijing, we're in Silicon Valley, Tel Aviv, and they're in Berlin. And Cradle's all about investing in startups to drive innovation. We refer to it really as the incubator, or maybe you could even say a speedboat for new mobility ideas and solutions. And it works by partnering with promising startups, and that enables us to ensure that not only are we at the position of the forefront for future mobility, but we're also encouraging those innovators to take risks and pursue the solutions of tomorrow. So it's exciting stuff. I think the first thing what we do all agree on is that, the future is electric. But maybe where we might be a bit different, we feel that the battery electric vehicle and the fuel cell electric vehicle can coexist together, and provide an eco-mobility solution that pushes us forward. And they're very complementary in that respect. So fuel cells, I think, are more beneficial in those areas where you're looking to carry heavy loads, travel long distances, and don't want the long stops for refueling. So in that area, we see huge potential with fuel cell in the commercial sector, shipping and transport, specifically with heavy-duty trucks. And that, by doing that, we will bring emissions-free solutions to both the private and the commercial sector.
Yesterday, we took a deep dive into Hyundai's fuel cell activities and took a closer look at the challenges and opportunities surrounding fuel cell electric vehicles. Today, I want to talk more about battery electric vehicles. What can you tell me about Hyundai's BEV strategy?
You're right, and this is the point. I think hydrogen, and we talk about the hydrogen society. It can be in all areas. So the possibilities are pretty endless. But of course, fuel cell is just one half of the equation. The other side for us is battery electric vehicle, and that's where right now we're very focused for the passenger car lineup and even SUVs. So you may have read or heard recently about the announcement we had for the IONIQ lineup brand. In the last few weeks, we've announced that we will have a range of dedicated EVs. And in fact, over the next 4 years, we're planning to launch 3 dedicated IONIQ vehicles, IONIQ 5, 6 and 7. The first of the vehicles is the IONIQ 5. It's a mid-size CUV based on the concept EV45 that we showed at EIR Frankfurt last year. The vehicle's really cutting edge in terms of its design, and many of the unique design elements that we have on the 5 will continue on future IONIQ models. But the IONIQ isn't just about the product. I just want to give you a little bit of a history, I guess, of around Project IONIQ, because it started in 2016, and that was when we unveiled the original IONIQ model. The world's first and only model to offer all 3 electrified powertrains, so hybrid, plug-in hybrid, and full battery electric. The vehicle has been updated in 2019, and it's still recognized for offering top-notch safety, excellent overall value, award-winning design, and of course, as you would expect, outstanding efficiency. But it wasn't just vehicles from the Project IONIQ topic that we had. We had a lab that also looked at different innovation for future mobility, and part of the results of that, we developed the IONIQ scooter, which was used for that last mile solution once you reach the congested areas. We've also unveiled at CES in 2017 2 fully autonomous concept cars. But there's been other solutions, including the exoskeletons, which made it into reality. So all pretty exciting stuff beyond just what we'd call, I guess, normal mobility. So, IONIQ has been a key project for us, and it really does stand for our commitment of sustainability and innovation. And it embodies, our drive to have connected and personalized lifestyle solutions. And that's what we'll deliver through these new models, the 3 models in the 3 different segments.
How does the IONIQ brand fit into Hyundai's overall strategy?
Yeah, sure. So we call it a lineup brand. Of course, it is part of the Hyundai brand overall, but it's our demonstration of the new technology. And what's so important in that, and why we're creating the sub-brand, is it's based off a new platform. We have our Electric Global Modular Platform, or EGMP, as we call it. And that platform will enable us to bring these products to market that have faster charging capabilities and longer driving range. So I think what IONIQ demonstrates as part of the Hyundai brand is how we're accelerating our plan to lead the global EV market.
So what does IONIQ mean for the European strategy when it comes to specific models?
We've talked very much around this as being the year of electrification 2020. So, we're moving beyond our current products. We today have the Kona battery electric vehicle. We have the current IONIQ electric vehicle, plus obviously the other derivatives with plug-in and hybrid technology. But we see very much this opportunity as the dedicated EV, starting with IONIQ 5 and then moving through to 6 and 7 as the next stage of that evolution of our electrification to become the leader in EV technologies.
Those are some pretty bold claims. How do you see Hyundai becoming a global leader in EV?
We always like to have a bold challenge, Nicole, so you're right, it's an ambitious goal. But we're well prepared. We've gathered a lot of expertise in building battery electric and fuel cell electric vehicles. While other manufacturers are just beginning to pursue their zero emissions vehicle technology, Hyundai's already had a very diverse powertrain lineup on the market, and we're already moving to our second generation fuel cell car. So these experiences give us a real head start. We know what customers are looking for, not only in the product, but also in the interactions at the dealership and through online showroom. So by knowing our customers' needs, their driving behavior and the expectation they have for infrastructure, we're really able to, I think, take an advantage versus our competitors. And that's why now we're moving with our next step more to focus on the customer experience.
How do you see Hyundai having a relationship with the consumer?
Okay, well, I'm not going to go into all the details today. We're still working, obviously, on our IONIQ lineup strategy. But what I can tell you is, our mission really is to redefine the in-car experience. And we want to focus again on that idea of creating a sort of connected and personalized environment inside the car. But also, very importantly, we have a key goal to expand the infrastructure for zero-emission vehicles. Because the reality is, no matter how great the car is, no one's going to buy it if they don't have a place to charge it. So, we're looking at how we expand the EV charging infrastructure. And part of that project with IONIQ is looking at a roaming service charge with My Hyundai through DCS. And that's going to give us access to the largest charging network in Europe, with over 130,000 charging points for both battery electric and plug-in hybrid electric vehicles. And it will enable payment with just one single account and card. So again, I think this is a demonstration that the future isn't just about building cars. We're also committed at Hyundai to creating a full-scale ecosystem that will support the wider adoption of zero-emission mobility solutions.
You've touched on something very important here, infrastructure. What are Hyundai's plans for fuel cell infrastructure?
Yeah, no, very good question, Nicole. And this is an area that we're very keen on, I guess, as being, I'd say, the leader in fuel cell technology. So what we're doing, we're working on what we call the green well-to-wheel supply chain, and we're starting that in Switzerland. And it begins with the production of green hydrogen using renewable energy. And we've partnered with energy provider Alpiq and Linde to build a hydrogen production plant. And then through the cooperation with Hydrospider, we're supporting getting that hydrogen to the refueling stations all over Switzerland. And then the important part to complete the picture, of course, is our joint venture, Hyundai Hydrogen Mobility. And that's where we lease the vehicles. We have a pay-per-use scheme, and those vehicles will be used by companies like the Co-op, Migros and Gallica Logistics. We begin the delivery of trucks in October. Our plan is to have 50 vehicles on the Swiss roads by the end of this year. And then I think very impressively by 2025, we're planning that Hyundai Hydrogen Mobility will have 1,600 zero-emission fuel cell trucks on Swiss roads. And that really means by having that holistic approach of the production of the hydrogen, the distribution, the refueling, and of course accessible trucks, we're able to solve that chicken and egg dilemma. So we're simultaneously building fuel cell vehicles and an infrastructure. And of course, that's the way we believe we can generate the opportunity of hydrogen society, and it all starts with Switzerland.
What else are you doing to promote hydrogen mobility? I drove here to IFA in a Nexo, so I get the feeling Hyundai has something exciting coming up.
Absolutely. I think you might already be aware, Nicole, about our new project, H2U, and this is a project that's all about informing people better and exciting people about hydrogen. And exciting news, of course, it starts in Berlin. And we know that the young generations especially want a fast energy transition. So, one of our goals is to inform Gen Z and also other first movers in e-mobility about the benefits of hydrogen and fuel cell in mobility and beyond. So we're going to do that through the channel that they know best, with social media, with influencer activation and an information campaign, which you might know something about.
Hydrogen is here. I'm driving around Berlin and I'm fueling up with hydrogen in my Nexo, which I have to admit is pretty fun to drive.
It's fantastic, and I'm glad you're enjoying it. And you know, the idea here, of course, by having this campaign is really we want to create, I think, what we would call a hub, a sort of fuel cell community where thought leaders and influencers from different communities can share their experiences and help really spread the knowledge about Nexo and the use of fuel cell and hydrogen in everyday lives.
Michael, we've talked a lot about what's happening in Europe. What's happening globally when it comes to fuel cell?
Okay, I mean, one of the things you may have heard a bit about is the Green New Deal in Korea. You know, this is something that was announced earlier this year by the South Korean government, and it's a plan to achieve a carbon zero society by 2050. Of course, one aspect of that is the creation of the Hydrogen Economy Council. That's really a group that's looking at how they coordinate and regulate the emerging fuel cell industry. And it's going to focus on areas like, you know, industry stimulation, safe usage and logistics of hydrogen as a fuel, as well as the infrastructure. Now, that's not only about promoting clean energy solutions, but of course it has the added benefit of also creating jobs and fostering zero emission solutions on an industry scale. On the other hand, of course, for us, it supports our zero emission initiatives here in Europe. So exciting stuff, and we're very happy to hear about this Korean Green Deal.
When you look at infrastructure overall, there is a societal view that is just so important. You can't bring one piece of the puzzle. You have to have a holistic approach.
Absolutely, absolutely. And you know, we are at the forefront of developing these innovative solutions in various sectors and across the holistic piece. So, you know, we think we have a great expertise in producing high quality, affordable, zero emission vehicles. Very importantly, we are developing these partnerships with infrastructure providers, and that means we have that holistic approach that will drive forward zero emission mobility revolution, not only in Europe, but of course around the world. And that's very much in line with our goal to become not just a vehicle manufacturer, but a holistic provider of smart mobility solutions that will drive the future of mobility. And we're very excited about the role we have to play here.
When you take a look at how companies are approaching the future of mobility, it needs to be from top to bottom. And it seems like you have a very strong vision of how it's all fitting together, how the individual moves through the world, all the way through to how power is being created.
Absolutely. No, thank you. Thank you for recognizing that. So we're very happy that we're putting ourselves very much at the forefront and being seen as a leader, you know, and a very eco-conscious company. That's very important to us.
Michael, we've covered a lot of topics today. So is there anything else that you think I've missed that you'd like to add?
Thank you for giving me the stage and the chance to share, you know, Hyundai's vision for the future. Clearly we see a responsibility, a global company like ourselves, to really be a leader in future eco-solutions, future mobility, making vehicles available for consumers around the world. We're already, I think, doing a really good job globally and in Europe. We're very happy here in Europe that we have now, this year for the first time, we have an EV made in Europe for Europe with the Kona battery electric vehicle from our Czech plant. And of course, we're very excited about the opportunity we have with the launch of our lineup brand IONIQ next year. Very excited about the project we have in Switzerland in terms of the fuel cell project, and of course ready for that challenge. I say, you know, that the catalyst is there. We know we have to change, we know we have to evolve, but a company like Hyundai, with our DNA about being a sort of challenger, an innovative company, we think we have a great opportunity to position ourselves as a leading tech company as well as being a mobility provider. So really exciting times ahead for us. Thank you for the chance to share our story with you today, and enjoy the rest of the meeting.
That was Michael Cole, President and CEO of Hyundai Europe. I'd like to thank everyone for joining in, and after a short break, Honor will take the stage.